Good morning, fellas, and welcome back to Me Plays Games. My name is Matt, and as I've been working on more Pokemon videos and coming up with ideas, I've collected a bunch of random facts I'm going to share with you today. I'm planning on turning this into a series, so leave a comment with any fun fact you'd like to see me cover. Alright, let's get started. Inverse battles are a really cool feature I think should have been explored more. They only appeared in Generation 6, and haven't been seen since. In inverse battles, the type chart is flipped on its head. Weaknesses become resistances, and vice versa. So normally, fire types are weak to water moves, but in inverse battles it's the other way around. And immunities become weaknesses as well, so flying types somehow take double damage from Earthquake. And flipping the type chart like that completely shifts the balance of the game. Normal types actually become pretty good, because nothing resists normal moves in inverse battles. On top of that, it actually gets to hit some types for super effective damage, namely Rock, Ghost, and Steel. Speaking of the Steel type, it's complete garbage. Now instead of resisting most moves, it's weak to basically everything. Steel types are weak to 11 of the 18 types in inverse mode. But that got me thinking, what Pokemon have the most 4x weaknesses in inverse battles? In normal fights, you can never have more than 2, because there are no types that share 3 common weaknesses. Except in Gen 1. Paras and Parasect are 4x weak to Fire, Flying, and Poison, because Poison and Bug used to be super effective against each other. But nowadays the maximum is 2. Grass Bug types take 4x damage from Fire and Flying moves, Rock Steel types are 4x weak to Fighting and Ground, and there's a couple of other examples. But in inverse battles, there are a whopping 8 different type combinations that have 3 4x weaknesses, and that includes Rock Steel, which is a horrible combination in regular battles as well, because of how many Pokemon can learn Fighting and Ground coverage moves. In inverse battles, Aggron's 4x weaknesses would be Normal, Flying, and Poison, but there's even a combination with 4 double weaknesses. Revavroom was introduced in Gen 9, long after the last time we saw inverse battles in the series, but it's the first Poison Steel type Pokemon, so it would have been 4x weak to Poison, Bug, Grass, and Fairy. I've always thought Mega Evolution was another fun thing to come out of Gen 6. Yeah, I'll agree that it could have been implemented better, because a lot of Pokemon that were already strong got Megas. Like, who thought this guy was okay? Mega Rayquaza doesn't need a stone to Mega Evolve so it can hold whatever item it wants, and its ability cancels out its flying type weaknesses? Get out of here! I think Game Freak would have been better off giving Megas to mostly weaker Pokemon, kinda bridge the gap in power a little bit. Like, come on, Mega Love Disc, Mega Cast Form, come on. When a Pokemon Mega Evolves, 100 points are added to its base stat total. Mega Slowbro gets a massive boost in defense and some special attack, Beedrill loses nearly all of its special attack to supercharge its speed and physical attack, and Mega Steelix gets a healthy dose of attack, defense, and special defense. But in Generation 6, there's one Pokemon that got only a 90-point boost when it Mega Evolved. Alakazam's base stat total goes from 500 to 590, with 40 points added to its special attack, 30 extra speed, and 20 extra defense. I couldn't tell you whether that's intentional or not, but in Generation 7, Mega Alakazam got 10 points added to its special defense, putting it on par with the other Mega Evolutions, at least as far as the difference in base stat totals goes. Hey, you want to see me make Aurora's life a living nightmare? In Generation 8 only, it's possible to knock out a Pokemon in one turn using only entry hazards. The first one we need is Stealth Rock. It deals damage to any Pokemon that switches in, unless they're wearing heavy-duty boots, or if they have the ability Magic Guard. The standard amount of damage Stealth Rock does is 1/8 of your max HP, but that gets modified based on the effectiveness of Rock-type moves against you. Lucario is Fighting Steel type, meaning it 4x resists Rock moves, so it takes 1/32 of its max health. On the flip side, Charizard is 4x weak to Rock, thanks to its Fire Flying typing, so unless it's wearing boots, it essentially enters the battle at half health if Rocks are up. Similarly, Generation 8 introduced another entry hazard. Gigantamax Caparaj's signature move, G-Max Steel Surge, does damage and sets up a Steel-type variant of Stealth Rocks on the field. The damage they do is the same, but this time it's based on how weak your opponents are to Steel. So a Rock Fairy type would lose half its health to these new hazards. So if we can find a Pokemon that's 4x weak to Rock and Steel, they'll lose 100% of their health from these two hazards. Unfortunately, that Pokemon doesn't exist. The best we can do is a Pokemon that's 4x weak to one of these types, and 2x weak to the other. The only type that's weak to Rock and Steel is the Ice type, so unfortunately there are punching bags for today. Next we can look for types that are weak to either Rock or Steel and don't resist the other, and there are 4 of those in the game. Rock, Flying, Bug, and Fairy. Ice Rock types and Ice Fairy types will take 25% for the Rocks and 50% from the Sharp Steel, and vice versa for Ice Flying and Ice Bug types. That's only 75% though, but that's where our next hazard comes in. Spikes have been in the game since Gen 2. You can stack up to 3 layers of them, with each layer adding on a little more damage. With 3 layers of spikes, they'll do 25% damage to any grounded Pokemon that switches in. So that eliminates Ice Flying types, since they float above the spikes. But the other 3 type combos we've got will take 100% damage combined from Rock, Steel, and Spikes. Well, not exactly. The damage entry hazards deal is actually rounded down each time. So for example, if a Charizard switches in with rocks on the field and it has 301 HP, half of 301 is 150.5. You can't deal half an HP of damage, so the game will always round down to 150 instead of up to 151. That means if our entry hazard victim has an HP stat that's not divisible by 4, it'll have a couple HP left over and it'll still be alive. Enter Toxic Spikes. By stacking 1 or 2 layers of Toxic Spikes, you can poison your target, and cause them to take even more damage at the end of the turn. So with Stealth Rock, G-Max Steel Surge, Spikes, and Toxic Spikes, the fully evolved Pokemon that can be one-shot by hazards are Alolan Ninetales, Frostmoth, Auroras, and Hisuian Avalugg. Counter isn't the most common move in the universe, but it has potential to do big damage. If you get hit by a physical move and use Counter in the same turn, you'll deal double the damage you took from your opponent's attack. In Generation 1 it worked differently though. The move could only counter normal and fighting attacks, so it would ignore any other physical moves like Earthquake and Rock Slide. Gengar is a Ghost-type Pokemon, meaning it's immune to normal and fighting moves. Despite its immunities, it can still learn Counter, but it can't deal damage with the move since it can't take any damage from counterable moves, so it's completely useless on the Gen 1 Ghosts. Or is it? Welcome back to Generation 1, where absolutely nothing makes sense. Despite being immune to all the moves Counter works on, Gengar can actually make use of it. In the original games, Counter doesn't check if a normal or fighting type move was used in the same turn. It just checks to see if the last attack you used did normal or fighting damage. That means if another Pokemon on your team got knocked out by, say, Body Slam, you can bring in Gengar once they faint. If your opponent uses a status move or switches, you can use Counter, which will calculate its damage based on the Body Slam, since that was the last move used, even though Gengar wasn't the one that got hit by it. I got this fact about Counter from a video by Big Yellow, link in the description. He's got a lot of great videos about competitive Pokemon and fighting games, so I'd highly recommend his channel. One of the silliest moves in the series is Metronome. By wiggling your finger, you can call nearly any move in the game. There is a list of moves it'll never pick though, like Sketch, Mimic, Protect, and Revival Blessing. But one of the weirder quirks of Metronome is how it handles weather moves. Up until Gen 8, it could call all 4 standard weather moves: Sunny Day, Rain Dance, Hail, and Sandstorm. In Generation 9, Hail was replaced with Snow, and 2 new snow summoning moves were added: Snowscape and Chilly Reception. Metronome is programmed to never call these 2 moves, despite being able to call Hail previously, but you can still summon all the other weathers with this move. In certain games, Metronome also won't call any moves the user knows. So if you wanted a slightly better chance of getting attacking moves, you could fill the rest of your moveset with stuff like Growl, Encore, and Sing. This mechanic was in place in Generation 2 and Generation 4. It skipped over Gen 3 entirely. Well, sort of. Metronome wasn't supposed to pick moves you know in Gen 3 either, but that doesn't actually take effect because of a coding error. So if you catch a Clefairy in Mount Moon in Gen 3, you can teach it, I don't know, Solar Beam, but then it can also get it from Metronome. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, subscribe to the channel. I'm planning on releasing new Pokemon videos every weekend. I also run a game show channel, My Prize Garage. Link in the description if that's your sort of thing. Little Cup is a format that was introduced in Pokemon Stadium 2. Most formats are played at high levels like 50 or 100, but Little Cup is only for unevolved level 5 Pokemon, so you can use Pokemon like Squirtle and Pichu, but nothing that has any pre-evolutions. And Pokemon that don't evolve at all are also banned, so you can't use Love Disc, for example. Although, funnily enough, there are Little Cup Pokemon that are stronger than Love Disc. God, this thing sucks. Anyway, since everything is level 5, you're obviously not dealing with very high stats. As a result, there are 2 moves that are banned in Little Cup. Sonic Boom does 20 HP's worth of damage, and it's got 90% accuracy. This move would have been a problem in this tier to say the least. The Pokemon with the highest HP stat in Little Cup is Munchlax, with a base stat of 135. With perfect IVs and maxed out HP EVs, the most health a level 5 Munchlax can have is 33. Yup, Sonic Boom is a guaranteed 2-shot on literally everything, so it was banned in Pokemon Stadium 2's Little Cup, and it's also banned in unofficial Little Cup metagames to this day. And as you might have guessed, it only gets worse. Dragon Rage is a move that does 40 damage, and it's 100% accurate. That makes it a guaranteed 1-shot on every single Little Cup Pokemon. Of course, Sonic Boom is normal type and Dragon Rage is dragon type, so they won't deal any damage to Ghost and Fairy types respectively. But if you stack your team with a bunch of Choice Scarf, Sonic Boom, and Dragon Rage users, you just kinda win, because none of the dual Ghost Fairy types are allowed in Little Cup. The Rock type is infamous for having so many inaccurate moves. Rock Blast and Rock Slide are 90% accurate, Stone Edge and Head Smash are 80%, heck, the strongest 100% accurate physical rock move is Smackdown, which has a whopping 50 power. But while the Rock type has always been lacking in perfectly accurate moves, nearly every Ghost move hits 100% of the time, or just bypasses accuracy checks altogether. The only Ghost type move with less accuracy is Poltergeist, which is 90% accurate. That move was introduced in Gen 7, so prior to that, the Ghost type had a perfect record, so to speak. Just ignore my Shuppet being meaning stand attack into oblivion, thanks. Here's another small fun fact about a move. Solar Blade isn't the most common move in the universe. It's a physical grass move that takes 2 turns to execute, but you can skip the charging turn if harsh sunlight is active. But in any other weather, its power is halved, so it's effectively a physical equivalent of Solar Beam. Except not quite. Solar Beam is 120 power, but Solar Blade is slightly stronger, clocking in at 125. That makes it the only move in the whole game with a base power of 125. There are plenty of moves in that ballpark, but the rest of them are 120 or 130. Although, one other tidbit about Solar Beam, in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, it had a base power of 200. That's kinda messed up, not gonna lie. Granted, there was no weather in the game, so you couldn't boost it in the sun, but still. Alright, one more quick one and we'll call it a video. Transform has been in the game since Generation 1, and it's pretty fun. You turn into your opponent's Pokemon, but what it actually copies varies slightly depending on what game you're playing. It'll always copy your opponent's species, typing, moves, and their stats aside from HP, but if you find a Wild Ditto in Generations 3 and 4, it'll actually also copy your Pokemon's catch rate. So you could try making it easier to catch by forcing it to turn into a Caterpie or something. Or if you're a masochist, make it turn into a Legendary and try to catch it in that state. You do you. Alright, that'll do it for this video. Leave a comment with any more fun facts you'd like to see me cover. I'll see you all next time. Good night, fellas. Sleep well.